Hello, friends, and welcome back to Stories About Entitled People. We begin with the story of another crazy Karen who decided that even though the place was closed, she still had to be served because she supposedly knew the owner. But before we begin, don't forget to subscribe to our channel if you're new here and turn on notifications so you don't miss a new video every single day. Here we go. You'll be fired tomorrow. So this happened to me yesterday. Cast. Me. CW coworker. Crazy B is, well, Crazy B, who knows the old owner. I work for a small pizza place in a small town. The hours are the same every day, 11 a.m. to 9 p.m. If you're still eating at closing time, then of course you can relax and finish eating while we clean up. Friday night at 9:15, I unlock the door for a customer to leave. At the same time, Crazy B walks up and tries to come in. I nicely explain that we're closed and apologies for the inconvenience. Now it gets fun. She stares at me like I'm stupid or speaking in a foreign language and starts complaining and saying that there are people still inside eating and that means we're still open. I explain to her that they got here before 9 p.m. and are just finishing their food. Now she goes back crap crazy saying, I know the owner, and if you don't serve me, I'll have you fired tomorrow. At this point, coworker walks up to hear what's going on. I ask him if the ovens were already turned off, which he replied, yes. I then try one more time to explain to this Crazy bee. She then starts to berate me, telling me I'm nothing. And now she's really going to call the owner and demand that I get fired, and that he'll probably have his cop friends arrest me since he used to be a cop. Now I know what's going on. The old owner used to be a cop and sold the restaurant in January. I nicely tell her again no and close and lock the door. But before leaving, she made it a point to write on the outside of the window, F you, you're fired, and peeled out of the parking lot fast. Needless to say, I never heard anything about it. And our second story. My own extended family found out that I won the lottery. I don't have a lot of aunts and uncles left. Plenty of cousins, though, as Dad had 6 sisters who all had children. Only 4 cousins are younger than I am. I haven't spoken to them in like 20 years. And the only times I have spoken with them was at a funeral of one of the aunts and uncles. I have no relationship with them. I received several messages of cousins who heard through a lot of people that I had money. When I read this, I was mentally preparing for yet another crap storm. Yep, they were pissed. They wanted to know why I didn't tell anyone. One of them ranted and raved about how unfair everything was, and I could have let them know and yada yada yada. When she finally was done, I asked, perhaps rather rudely, if she was done and if I could explain. I made one group and I wrote the whole story of what was happening in that group. I ended with the words, in bold, underlined, in huge letters, this is why I never told you. Several were shocked that what happened did happen. I asked them why they were upset I didn't tell them. No one really answered that until I said that maybe because they wanted to benefit from it. Some, no way, and how can you think that of us? I answered that the reason I think is because of all the crap that has hit my fan. I've lost a lot of trust in people in general because of this. To make a long story short, a couple of them asked if they could get, yes, get, not borrow, some money. Others said they'd like to borrow some if possible. I unloaded a document that CLC, Certified Loan Cousin, and I had signed. I told them that what was stated in the document were the rules. They could read it or not. One cousin asked if I could give them a call. I did. Turns out his daughter has a severe illness. Without treatment, she'll likely die. I won't name it for anonymity's sake. There's a treatment in the U.S. that could help her. Chances remain slim, but if it's a success, his daughter might live and live a somewhat good quality of life. Unfortunately, the treatment's not paid for by the insurance company. I didn't trust it after so many stories and asked for details. He asked if I could come and visit. His daughter was in the hospital. He didn't lie one bit. God, that girl. She's in her early 20s, but still, tubes and monitors everywhere. Books on the bed as she tried to do some homework. I could almost see death standing at her shoulder, waiting. She was so... We had a talk, and eventually her attending doctor came in and explained a bit. Later, I went with the doctor to his office, and he explained the rest. I went home afterwards. We verified the doctor's name, field, etc. Cousin and I talked again on the phone. I told him I hadn't made a decision yet and wanted to know if they wanted the money for medical costs only. He confirmed that his wife/mother of said daughter would go to the U.S. and they had money to cover the expenses. It'd be tight, but they wanted only the money for the medical costs. Hubby and I talked and we agreed. We agreed to help, but again with strict rules. We'd only pay the amount that we were given. The U.S. hospital gave them a number. We'd pay the hospital directly and other important details. Only thing we asked in return is that in the event of success and failure, they would put a certain amount of money towards research and installments if necessary. Lawyer friend L drew up the contract and asked another lawyer to review it. This lawyer specialized in the medical field. I called cousin again. I told him that I had thoroughly examined the entire situation. I'd been played and lied to. I was attacked in many ways, and I'd lost my trust in people. I thanked him for his honesty in the situation and commented how hard it must be. I then asked him if his wife was listening. She wasn't, but he put her on speakerphone. I then told him this news. The only thing I heard were tears, cries, and thank yous. I told them that I had strict rules and sent them in the draft of the document. I asked them to ask the lawyer or maybe the hospital lawyer to review it. If they agreed, we could sign the document. Later, their daughter called me. Same story as her parents. I just hope that this time around, the money will do good. Her doctor contacted me and we're going to arrange the financial details once the contract has been signed between my cousin and I. Other family members of mine have done the greedy grab hands. No was the simple answer, alongside the number of the investment advisor. Told them good luck and block the beggars. I don't worry as much as them finding out where I live. My parents' brother and his wife, my sister-in-law, can win a tight-lipped contest with an oyster. It's wonderful when you're in a position where you're able to give the help that was critically needed. And our last story. Told me to look for a new job. So a little backstory. I worked as a mechanic for a little mom and pop shop. Now when I say little, it was literally a 2-bay garage attached to someone's house with one small lift inside and one lift outside. My boss was a clean freak. Anyway, on to the fun part. Before I started working there, he was in the process of buying a building in the town over. Beautiful 7-bay plus showroom for his classic car collection and a side for people to rent for storage of their classic cars. My boyfriend helped us move from the tiny shop to the new shop. The day of the move, my boyfriend's mother had a quadruple bypass surgery, so he'd take periodic breaks to call the hospital. My boss, wondering the need for so many breaks, asked what was going on, so I tell him. He seems surprised and asks why he isn't there. I tell him it's because he had already promised to come help us with the move and also had no transportation. His mom lives in the state north of us. Fast forward a month or so. At the time, I was going through a lengthy, crappy divorce and my father was dying of lung cancer. Relevant for later. Due to all the stress of my personal life, I'd hit a small rut at work. This is where the boss becomes a total flaming butthole. I have an automotive degree, went to a specialty school for my training, and about 6 years of experience. During my rut, my boss decides that the only thing I know how to do is change oil and mopping his floors. Boss is a member of the Chamber of Commerce and has meetings in the showroom from time to time. On one of these meetings, he brings all the members into the shop to introduce everyone. He goes through my other 2 co-workers, praising them, then he gets to me. I should mention that I'm a female. Not many female mechanics in my area, and I've worked hard to get where I am. This butthole introduced me as an apprentice. My jaw literally dropped, and so did one of my coworkers. You could see in the faces of the members that something was not right. My pride has now been insulted. About a week later, my father's in and out of the hospital due to his cancer spreading. I let my boss know I may need to leave early. His response is, "You can meet with family and doctors after work." I'm in awe. I call my family and the doctors on lunch to let them know I can't make it. Due to my boss's statement and his treatment of me over the past month, I start looking for another job. A few weeks later, my boyfriend's mother ends up in the hospital due to complications from her bypass surgery. I specifically remember this being a Tuesday. I call my boss that morning and ask him to take the boyfriend to the other state to see his mother. He goes on to say, "Can't you just get a rental for him?" I reply with, "No." Then my boss replies with, "You have a lot going on. Maybe you should just look for another job." I say, "Okay, I'll be at work soon." Little did he know I was going to give my 2 weeks that Friday. As I'm on my way to work, he texts me saying, "I'll figure something out, I can go." By the time I get this, I'm already pulling into the parking lot. I stand next to my car and make a phone call. I walk in and his wife is at the desk. I tell her I need my paycheck for last week and for yesterday's work. She looks at me confused. She's the sweetest person ever. I tell her what's going on and what her husband said. I also tell her that I'd found another job anyway and how I was going to put in my 2 weeks' notice. She starts to cry and says she doesn't want me to leave. The tow truck shows up to get my toolbox. It's about the size of a Mini Cooper. My boss is now confused since he'd been with a customer and had no idea I was there. The tow truck driver's loading up my box and boss comes out. "What are you doing?" I reply with, "You told me to find another job. I already did." I found out a week later from my coworker that me pulling that made him eat his words. Like I'd previously mentioned, there was only 3 of us at the time, and the other guy had quit not long after me, and he was seriously understaffed. I should mention he also has no idea how to book appointments, booking 2 or 3 big engine jobs in one day and booking many 6- and 7-hour jobs for the same day. How do you run a small shop and treat your employees like this? When one person leaves, it means you have a 33% reduction in staff. You kind of need to make sure you keep people happy. Hey guys, thank you all for watching the video. I'll see you in the next one.